I know how goofy and stupid this game looks, but I genuinely couldn't find any other game that would be funny to play. Unless I wanted to like redo Titan Warfare or the parkour game that I play. Like, I got nothing like that. And the audio is a little loud, I kind of realized. Let me just temporarily turn down Roblox. I can't believe I had to make this video this quick, but I guess that's how we're gonna do it. It's gonna be a little shorter, because I'm not gonna go... Because it wasn't really a long situation, but I kind of had to. And first, I want this to be clear. I'm not going to reveal who this individual is, because I don't want to start a witch hunt. Even though this person, honestly, he does not have common sense in terms of fucking personal space or, like, comfort zones, like just the basic general knowledge, right? And I'll explain what I mean by that once we get to it. But first, let's start from the beginning and whatever, right? So first of all, for those who don't know, I post a bit of stuff on TikTok, right? It was mainly just a bunch of like stuff with Roblox, just me talking about a bunch of random shit and whatever, whether it be Project Moon related, or it's just whatever was on my mind, just for funny lulz and whatever. And because of that, I've been getting a lot more people coming onto my profile and, you know, checking things out and whatever. And like following me, I've been getting a lot more people like watching my stuff on there, which is cool, which is really, really cool. But this also means that I got a couple people trying to like DM me on TikTok. Now I want to be 100% clear on this. I do not mind getting TikTok DMs or anything like that. I don't mind that at all. Like, as long as we're all like chilling, whatever, like the stuff that's being sent to me is like, it's whatever, right? Like maybe, oh, you reacted to one of my posts or you want to send me some posts or whatever. I don't care. I'm personally A-okay with that. I got zero problems with that. If anything, I implore it. Like, oh, that was a fuck up, and we're back down here. Oh, we're all the way back down here. That's great. All right, we're off to a great start. So I get like a couple of like message requests, right? Because I think by default, I have my thing on TikTok to where it's like, you can message me even though I don't follow you, but typically to not have to worry about the fucking... like, oh, we gotta see if they accept the request sort of thing. Like, I have to follow you, but you could still send a message. Like, you're not unable to send a message if I'm not following you. But I do have to choose whether or not I want to accept the message or not. And most of the time I do. Most of the time I do. There's really no reason for me not to in a lot of cases. So I get one message request, and at first I'm like, okay, who's it from, or whatever. And again, I'm not going to reveal who it is, but for the sake of this video, we're going to call him Bob. No, we're not going to call him Bob. What's like a really shitty, what's like a name that's like usually correlates with like shitty males? Is there something like that? Is there something like that? We'll just call him, you know what? We'll call him after the rename for the king and Shield Hero. We'll call him Trash. That's what we'll do. Son of a bitch. Dude, I'm fucking up bad. But yeah, we'll call him Trash. That's what we'll do. We'll call him Trash. Anyway, so I get a message from Trash, right? And it says, and this is a real message, by the way. Like, no joke, no bullshit, nothing like that. The first thing he sends to me is, and I quote, "I want to eat you as my significant other." What the fuck, bro? Now, at first, I thought, I decided to accept the message and reply with no. And he's like, fair enough. The reason I reply, here's the thing. Despite how weird that is, I know how some people on TikTok are like, right? Like, some people are they're just there to have fun, goof around, and be either stupid or just be silly, you know? And I don't got a problem with that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's whatever, right? So I accepted the message, and I was like, okay, this is a bit weird, but like, it's TikTok. I'm bound to find a couple weird people there and there. This is most likely not, like, this is not an exception, you know? So I was like, okay, whatever. Not a big deal. Who cares, right? But anyways, I accept the message and, like, not thinking anything much. And he didn't respond outside of fair enough afterwards anyway, so I at first, I didn't think anything much of it. God, what am I doing wrong? Anyways, I didn't think anything much of it until I got another message because he responded to one of my TikTok stories. If I recall, it was making a joke about Illusions, which is a Roblox game that I do not like. Like, it's not peak, guys. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's bad, but like, if you genuinely think it's peak, I'm sorry, bud. That's not the case. It's really not peak at all. there are better games than Illusions out there. Nah, main point though is I made a story that says if you guys like Illusions so much, why don't you marry it? And then he was like, because you said not to. That's what he responded, like in the DMs when he was responding to that story. And I wanted to make a joke. I wanted to be funny. I was like, no marriage for video games until they're 18 years old at least. I thought it was funny. I didn't think there was anything weird about it, and he didn't see it as weird. What he said afterwards was weird. He was basically saying that he was referring to me, and I'm like, what does that mean? That sentencing doesn't work. That's not how English works, motherfucker. Have you ever thought about that? And then he asked how old I was, and I was like, okay, wow, we're doing this? And I was like, you know what, fine, I'll fucking play along. Because I want to see if this dude's a creep. I want to see how much of a creep he is. Because I'm like, okay, the first DM I got was like, it was really fucking weird. Anybody with a brain can see that, but I'm also thinking to myself, I'm like, there's no way it's just like that, right? So I'm like, insert age here, and like, I don't care about people knowing my age or not, but I won't reveal it in this video, primarily because I don't care to. Don't worry, I am legal though. You know, basically, I said my age and I was like, I'm dying just like how Sonic was after his 21st birthday, because we know what happened after Sonic Generations. Like, don't even pretend, dude. Don't even pretend, dude. That's tricky. Not sure what I'm supposed to do there. Oh, no. So anyways, I say that, and apparently he was about to be around my age as well. So I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, I suppose. Not a big deal by any means, but I mean, hey, that's kind of cool, I suppose. And then he started making some interesting comments. Now, I'm gonna be paraphrasing a couple of things, because after I blocked this individual, which, sorry for spoiling the story, but after I blocked him, I deleted the DM board shit, whatever, right? Because he was genuinely a gross individual. And I'll get to that momentarily, but just note that I'm going to be paraphrasing a lot of this stuff because I cannot look back at the messages for anything like that, and there's no way this is how this area goes. But he basically starts flirting with me. He starts throwing out pickup lines, if you will. And I want you to keep in mind me using the term pickup lines, okay? That's going to be super duper fucking important later down the line, so just do keep that in mind as we go on. They're pickup lines, right? So anyways, gives me some pickup lines and shit and whatever, and I try to respond as like nonchalantly as possible, because I'm like, I don't care. If you guys already seen my last video on this channel, you already know I don't really give a damn about romance, at least not as of right now. I have little to no interest in it, and whatever. And even if I did, I would rather have someone fit like certain criteria. And let me tell you, this man need to not meet any of those requirements to be like, yeah, Shiva would be interested in you like that. Are you fucking high as balls? Like, dude, what are you thinking? So it was just a back and forth of essentially him giving out a bunch of pickup lines and me essentially killing myself. Fuck, dude, that's stupid. What the fuck? But anyways, it was essentially just a back and forth with him saying a bunch of stupid shit and me sort of like trying to give him hints that just like, I'm not interested, I don't give a damn, that kind of thing, right? And like, again, anybody with a brain would know that like, I clearly am not interested in whatever. Hell, I even tried to like, get him to back off and just be like, dude, Shield Hero Season 4 is now airing, I'm gonna go watch that. I'm gonna go have some fun, I'm not gonna deal with this. And he still responded with, and I quote, have a gorgeous time. And I'm like, I'm gonna shoot myself in the face. I'm going to shoot myself in the face. So I decided not to think much of it. And I was originally intending on blocking him right then and there. But then I was like, if I ended it there, then it wouldn't make for a funny video. So I had to keep going. And I had to see if there was more to it instead of just him thinking he could shoot a shot. Because here's the thing. If he was just some guy trying to shoot his shot or whatever, and that was all it was, I wouldn't be making a video on this. I genuinely would not be making a video on this because that wouldn't be interesting. That wouldn't be interesting. But what happened here is much more interesting. So let's get back on track, shall we? Basically, long story short, I don't remember if it was like the next day or when he DM'd me again or whatever. Oh, no. You know what? He responded to another one of my TikTok stories because I wanted to basically, since more people were coming into my TikTok. So this is the thing I like doing sometimes when I get more followers on certain accounts and whatever. I'm sort of just like, I sort of bring up certain things about myself just to kind of get people a little well acquainted with who I am as a person. So like, for example, when I started getting more subscribers on my main YouTube channel, I was a little more open about me being trans and everything. Well, not more open, but like I mentioned it a lot more often because I was like, hey, this is who I am, blah, 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 and whatever, just for those who do not know. And that's like fine and whatever. So I made a story that was essentially like, I don't give a shit about romance. I was like, the story basically said a Shivani that's single is a happy Shivani. And that's the truth. That is the truth with where I stand right now. And again, if you guys watched my previous video on this channel, you would already know that. Oh, wow, that's gonna be tricky, huh? Interesting. And he responded to that saying like, it was along the lines of like, okay, if you say so. And I'm like, I mean, it's the truth. I'd much rather be single. That's just how it is, dog. And at first, it seemed like it was like, all right, whatever, right? Like, it seemed like he was like, okay, fair enough. And I was like, huh, maybe that worked out a little better than I thought. I have fallen. Then he went back to all the like flirting and whatever. He was like trying to call me like some cute shit. I tried to downplay myself because you guys know who I am. You know I decided to downplay myself. But he tried taking it off into like many different ways and trying to like make it seem like he could like flirt with me and whatever. And I was like, I don't really care for these pickup lines, you know? I'd rather not. And he was just not taking the hint. So I had to be a lot more blunt, a lot more straightforward. And even then he wasn't getting it. So what happened then? This is where we slowly reached the climax of our little story, right? So one question, so here's the thing, right? I was in a VC with a couple of friends. I was with a Z, Trooper, and my brother Brendan. And I was telling them about this story. I was like, dude, there's this fucking simp in my TikTok DMs, and he's just like saying all this shit. And then I was like looking through the DMs, right? And I was telling them what I was being told and shit. And all of them had the most visceral cringe reactions that I've ever heard of them, even out of my brother. And trust me, I've seen him cringe before at many things. I don't think he's ever I've never heard him so repulsed in his life. Well, maybe that's not entirely true, but I definitely haven't heard it in a long while. Like, that poor bastard, the shit that he heard, I do not blame him for being like, ew, what the fuck? Cause like, first of all, and I forgot to mention this, I apologize. Trash called me Queen of Cinder because I compared myself as being ugly as the Nameless King. And I guess by proxy that means I like Dark Souls. Look, bro, you can reference shit that you don't like. What the fuck? I was showing them DMs and whatever. And I do not remember exactly the course of events. Again, I don't have the DM messages up. So as much as I would love to say what happened, like what I was asked or whatever, I genuinely have no fucking idea. But it was like some kind of random question. I think what it was something along the lines of like, oh, I'm trying to remember, because like it was honestly a tough question that I wasn't even sure on how to answer. It was really fucking weird. Didn't know how to properly explain it or whatever. But no, actually, I'm sorry. I need to backtrack the story because I'm forgetting things and I'm remembering now. One question that was asked, one question that was fucking asked to me was, am I abusive? It fucking, excuse me. I forgot about that shit. Like, I'm sorry, I can't believe I forgot about that. Yeah, dog asked if I was abusive. I'm like, bitch, what the fucking fuck? And the question we got stuck on, And I'm gonna send this video link to Treeper, so he might have to correct me if I'm wrong, if this was not the question. But regardless, there was a question we were stuck on, and I think this was it, but I genuinely don't remember. So, Treeper, if you're watching this, which I know you are, because I'm gonna send you the link because you asked, do correct me if it was not the question. But anyways, he asked me if I liked being degraded or being called a good girl, and I'm like, yeah, I was like in the middle of the VC, and I'm like, you know what, guys? Since y'all are here, how about y'all choose how I respond? And we didn't really know how to respond. Looking back now, I think about it. No, that wasn't actually the question. I remember, it's not the question. God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just so baffled that the situation was real. But anyways, that was something that was asked, and that's just cringe. This dude's cringe. And I was trying to make it abundantly clear that he was cringe. I even said, right, like before he went to go to bed, because he was like, because Trash said, I'm going to bed, or whatever. And I simply said, sorry that it took for me a while to respond. My friends couldn't think of a good response to give you. And then the next day, right? The next day, he's like, why your friends helping you? Why can't you like respond? I'm like, I mean, they're looking at how cringe you're kind of being, not gonna lie. And then he was like, what, how so? And I'm like, your pickup lines, you know, the ones that I made abundantly clear that I did not want, nor did I have any interest in having. And he was like, which ones specifically? And I simply just answered all of them, because if I'm being honest, it's just all of them. And he was like, well, pickup lines are supposed to be like corny or whatever. I'm like, there's corny, and then there's whatever the hell you did that gave even me a visceral reaction. He was like, what's really like the problem? Like, he's like, how do you want me to like talk to you? I'm like, I don't know, maybe not like a troll and like a normal person, like having a conversation. That'd be like a pretty decent start, all in all. And Trash got confused because he was like, he noticed I was calling him a troll, because I won't lie, I started slowly assuming that he was a troll. So he was like really confused at first, and like, I don't give a damn. Trash was confused at first. And he was like, wait, you think I was a troll? How so? And I'm just like, who unironically calls someone Queen of Cinder? Especially to someone who doesn't even like the Dark Souls series. Now, of course, in his defense, I did bring up the Nameless King as a reference and whatever. Nameless King is also in Elden Ring Night Rain, which I prefer. And he basically and here's the thing, all this, the rest of this is what happened today at the time of me recording this video. While I was at work, by the way, which luckily work started off kind of slow, so I was able to kind of get a pass with it. He basically was like, I didn't know you didn't like Soulsborne. And I was like, oh no, I like Souls games, like Elden Ring, Sekiro, Code Vein, and like other stuff like, you know, just a bunch of other games. Why did the boost panel not work? But anyways, I said that and he was like, well, how was I supposed to know? And I was just like, I don't know, by being a normal person and not using pickup lines? Like, have you ever thought of that? Like, I'm just like, why are you just like giving out pickup lines to just some rando you know nothing about? And he tries to twist around like, well, that's what pickup lines are for and whatever, trying to like explain the excuse of that or whatever. And I'm just like, dude, I don't care if that is actually how that works. You know nothing about me. So your pickup lines are doing jack shit. They're doing nothing. They're fundamentally fucking useless. And then I think this is where Little Timmy snapped. And yes, we're changing his name from Trash to Little Timmy. Bro decides talking mad shit to me, blaming me for like him not knowing what my comfort zone and personal space is. Bitch, you never asked. You never fucking asked. You started asking some of the most deranged shit. And you started saying the most deranged shit and the most uncomfortable, cringeworthy shit. When I've also made it abundantly clear that I wasn't interested in any of that stuff, nor was I interested in your dog ass who looks like a fucking mop-headed cunt. Like, are you kidding me, bro? And bro did have like his face as his PFP, so I could call him a mop. I didn't. But instead what I responded with, like, he was, so basically, right? He was talking all this mad shit, like thinking that I'm at fault, just like, personal space and stuff, even though, again, I made it abundantly clear. I made it abundantly fucking clear that I didn't like what he was doing. And then I simply responded with, "Are you this fucking dense?" And word for word, "Are you fucking dense?" Like, your first fucking DM message was, "I want to eat you as my significant other." I was like, you know what? No, I'm blocking you, because clearly common sense is not your forte. And then I blocked him. I know some of you guys might be a little disappointed with that outcome, hoping that there was more to it. And unfortunately, I don't have much for the story, unless the cunt uses an alt account and tries to get all annoying with me again. But yeah, here's the takeaway from this, essentially. Dumbass decides to go ahead and start flirting with a random person that not only he knows nothing about, but when he does learn stuff about them, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He keeps doing his own thing. You know what? Let's expose. Apparently bro's gonna be 23 soon. Fucking doesn't act like it. He acts like he's fucking 12 and doesn't know how to take a hint. Like, bro, that's crazy. That's crazy, bro. It's like, I literally tell him the things that I don't like, or the things that I am no, I didn't tell him anything I liked. I tried to ignore him on that sort of front. He doesn't take a hint, and he just continues being like a fucking dumbass. Like, that's not my fault. I gave you the hints. You chose to ignore them. That's on you. Don't get mad at me for apparently not knowing my comfort zone, even though you're the one technically exploiting it in some cases. Like, what the fuck, bro? If the shit that happened to me at work while I was DMing him did not happen, I wouldn't have made this a video. I would not have made this a video. There would have been no need to make it a video. Nah, but dog wanted to catch these hands. So I was like, all right, I'll fucking deliver, asshole. I'll fucking deliver. And so I did. Like, he had a chance to back out, but he chose not to. So that's on him, you know? Anyways, that's all I really do have for this video. I'm sorry if this was a little shorter and not too exciting, nothing too crazy or whatever, but I had to talk about this because, dude, little Timmy was so mad that he was in the wrong. Like, normally I don't get that satisfied with being right, but this time, nah, I have to be satisfied about it. This shit was funny as hell. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and this talk and whatever, and we'll see whatever topics we get to talk about this time, and since I know I'm not going to do any good, let's erase my progress. Self-sabotage. Anyways, hope you have a good day, night, afternoon, whatever it is where you're at. Just be sure to have a good one.